4 months after he left NBC's nightly news to focus on work at Dateline, Lester Holt has a new project that focus is on the death row case here in Texas. It's gotten national attention. So in his first ever podcast called The Last Appeal, Lester and his Dateline team investigate the story of Robert Robertson. He's a Texas father convicted in the 2002 death of his young daughter. I recently spoke to Holt and asked him why this case is how he wanted to launch his podcast career.
Well, when I left Nightly News, a lot of it was, with the idea that I want to get back to, rolling my sleeves up, doing some longer-term reporting, and that's what I've done, certainly with this story. The story of Robert Robertson, who was convicted of killing his 2-year-old girl, was really what got me going. I traveled to Texas to cover that story when I was on Nightly News, and then I left with a lot of questions and was able to have this opportunity to return to find people who were involved in this case, had some connection to this case, some who've never spoken before about it, really trying to get a sense for where it's going. October 16th is his death date. And so there's not a lot of time for those who have come to his aid, of which there are many. But we've been covering that now, as I said, since last year, and now with certainly a greater pace of urgency to try and find out, what people knew about what happened. At the center of this argument is shaken baby syndrome. You may have heard the term before. In this case, the prosecution said he shook his daughter to death, 2-year-old daughter, and the defense has always maintained that shaken baby syndrome, the definition and the diagnosis has changed, that some view it as now discredited, that they learned that some of the injuries attributed to it could have come from other medical causes. And in this case, Nikki, the little girl, they say, was a very sickly little child and was suffering from pneumonia the day that she died.
It's a sad story all around. You had the chance to interview him on death row last year, I believe. What was some things that you took away from that meeting that maybe made its way into the podcast?
They call him Big Country. That's his nickname on death row in Texas, and he's kind of this very slow-talking guy and frankly quite friendly, at least in that context. I wanted to really get a measure of him. You don't know if someone's guilty or not, but you get a feel for their sincerity, perhaps. In this case, he's maintained that he didn't harm his daughter, didn't kill his daughter, and that he is innocent and that the system has let him down. And so we look at some of the ways in which his defense believes he has been let down. Evidence that the jury never heard about the little girl's medical history that may have contributed to her death. Also, pieces of potential evidence, a brain scan that went missing for 15 years that was important to his defense. So a lot of moving parts here, and it's really something that I was anxious to do. As I said, I started this story at Nightly and now continuing it on under my Dateline world.
That's the challenge, right? And you're so good at it, telling the side just from the analytical side, trying to take the emotion in a very emotional story out of it. He's gained support, right, from some very unlikely people, maybe a change of heart on sort of their view of what he did or did not do about this, yes?
Yeah, Brian Wharton is one that really stands out, and there were several we talked to, but Brian Wharton was the chief of detectives, I think was his term back then, at the Palestine Police Department. He was the first one to question Robert. He arrested him, essentially, put him on death row. He went on to leave the work of police, became a minister, and he gets a knock at the door a few years back from a woman, a lawyer, who says, "I'm representing Robert Robertson. You were the arresting detective. I want to ask you some questions." And Robert looks at her and says, "I've been expecting you." He said this case had always bothered him. Something about the case didn't seem right, that he felt there was kind of a rush to judgment. And he was given the chance to testify at a hearing on behalf of Robert, and he agreed to do that. The two of them became friends. In fact, Robert asked him to attend his execution that was scheduled a year ago. He won a stay of execution, but this is a relationship that has certainly taken some wild turns and really stands out in this story.
Time is running out for Mr. Robertson. I believe his execution the 16th. The podcast obviously dropping today. Yeah. What are you hoping listeners can take away? There's several episodes on this case. What are some of the takeaways that you're hoping folks listen to?
Well, what I hope folks get is what we're trying to do is bring them into the process. This kind of reporting, as I said, it's a little more raw. I mean, literally knocking on doors and stopping people in the street. And I want people to kind of go along with that journey, our reporting journey, as we ask these questions. There's going to be no giant, I'll tell you right now, there's no giant reveal at the end like, da-da, he did it, or da-da-da, he didn't do it. It's a slow crawl in some respects with these kinds of stories as we really try to, put the pieces together. So we kind of invite the viewer to go along on that process.
Lester, that's it for us, man. Thank you so much for your time. Best of luck with the podcast.
Thank you. Really nice talking to you. Appreciate you having me.
Yes, sir. Come on down, get some enchiladas in South Texas sometime.
Now you're talking. You're speaking my language.
See you later. Thanks a lot. A lot of fun talking to him. A reminder, you can listen to the first episode of Dateline's new podcast, The Last Appeal with Lester Holt, right now. And a new episode will drop every day through Thursday. The Last Appeal is available wherever you listen to podcasts.